Lieutenant Kaida Knox prided herself on running the tightest ship in the Zinthari fleet. As the first purple-skinned Zinthari to achieve her rank, she had worked twice as hard to prove herself worthy. Her white hair was always pulled back in a perfect regulation bun, her uniform impeccably pressed, her orders clear and concise. So when Admiral Voss informed her that the Galactic Coalition was assigning a human engineer to the celestial Voyager, she was less than pleased. With all due respect, Admiral, my engineering team is perfectly capable. We don't need outside assistance. The Admiral's hologram flickered. This isn't a request, Lieutenant. The human arrives tomorrow. Engineer Ethan Reed comes highly recommended. The Coalition believes his expertise with quantum drive systems will be valuable for your deep space mission. Kaida's antennae twitched with irritation. Understood, sir. The next morning, she waited in the docking bay, her tall, slender frame rigid with tension. The shuttle doors opened, and out stepped a human male. Kaida had met humans before, but something about this one made her pause. Engineer Ethan Reed was tall for a human, with warm brown skin and curly black hair. His eyes, a startling shade of amber, crinkled at the corners as he smiled at her. Lieutenant Knox? Ethan Reed. Looking forward to working with you. His voice was deep, resonant. She nodded curtly. Welcome aboard the Celestial Voyager, Engineer Reed. I trust you'll find our facilities adequate. More than adequate from what I've heard. The Zinthari are known for their precision engineering. His gaze was direct, appreciative in a way that made her uncomfortable. As she led him through the ship, Kaida was acutely aware of his presence behind her. Humans had a distinctive scent, this one smelled of something earthy and pleasant. Your quarters, she said, gesturing to a door. The engine room is on deck 4. You'll report there at 0600 tomorrow. Any chance I could see it now? Ethan asked. I've been reviewing the schematics during my journey, and I have some ideas I'd like to discuss. Kaida's antennae twitched again. We have a perfectly optimized system, Engineer Reed. I'm sure you do, he said, that smile appearing again. But optimization is a journey, not a destination. Something about his confidence both irritated and intrigued her. Very well. Follow me. In the engine room, Ethan moved with unexpected grace for a human, his fingers trailing over the quantum drive housing with something akin to reverence. Beautiful work, he murmured. But have you considered recalibrating the phase inverters? You could increase efficiency by at least 12%. That would require reconfiguring the entire power distribution grid, Kaida objected. Not necessarily. Ethan pulled up a holographic display, his fingers dancing through the schematics. Look here, and here. A bypass through these circuits would achieve the same result. She leaned closer, the scent of him stronger now. That's actually quite ingenious. Thank you, he said, turning toward her. They were standing close, too close. I have to say, Lieutenant, your ship isn't the only impressive thing here. The way you've integrated multiple technologies into a cohesive system, it's almost as elegant as you are. Kaida felt an unfamiliar heat rise to her cheeks. No one had ever spoken to her like that. She stepped back quickly. That's inappropriate, Engineer Reed. His smile faltered. My apologies. Where I come from, admiring someone's intelligence and other qualities isn't considered offensive. We're not on Earth, she said stiffly. On this ship, we maintain professional boundaries. Understood, Lieutenant. The smile returned, slightly subdued. Professional boundaries it is. As she left the engine room, Kaida's hand rose unconsciously to her cheek. It was still warm. 3 weeks into their mission, Kaida found herself spending more time in the engine room than her duties strictly required. She told herself it was to monitor the humans' work, not because she enjoyed their debates or the way his eyes lit up when explaining a new concept. The problem with the quantum resonance chamber, Ethan explained one evening, is that we're trying to apply classical physics principles to quantum phenomena. They were alone in the engine room, ship's night cycle in full effect. Kaida's white hair had begun to escape its tight bun after the long day. But the established equations have been used successfully for decades, she argued. Ethan shook his head. Successfully, yes, but not optimally. He moved closer to the holographic display, his shoulder brushing against hers. Look at these fluctuations. They're not random, they're responding to entangled particles. Kaida felt the warmth of him next to her, distracting her from the data. Are you suggesting we rewrite fundamental Zinthery drive theory? I'm suggesting we improve it. His voice dropped lower. Together. The word hung between them, heavy with implication. You're very confident for someone who's been on this ship less than a month, she said, trying to maintain her professional tone. Life's too short not to be confident about what you want, Lieutenant. His eyes met hers, and this time he didn't look away. And what you know? The air felt suddenly charged between them, like the quantum field they were discussing. And what is it you want, Engineer Reed? The words escaped before she could stop them. His gaze traveled slowly over her face, down to her slender purple neck, across the curves of her body beneath her uniform. Many things. Some of which would definitely violate those professional boundaries you mentioned. Kaida's antennae quivered, a physiological response she couldn't control. Among her people, it was a clear sign of arousal, a fact she hoped he didn't know. We should focus on the task at hand, she said, her voice not quite steady. A slow smile spread across Ethan's face. I thought that's what we were doing. Before she could respond, the ship jerked violently. Warning sirens blared through the engine room. What was that? Ethan steadied himself against the console. Kaida was already moving, fingers flying over the control panels. Subspace anomaly. We've encountered a quantum storm. The ship shuddered again, more violently this time. Systems began shutting down across the board. The drive is destabilizing. Kaida called over the sirens. If we can't re-establish the quantum field, we'll be trapped here. Ethan was beside her instantly, his earlier flirtation forgotten. The resonance chamber can't handle this level of disruption. We need to modulate the field manually. That's insane, you'd have to enter the chamber itself. Not me, Ethan said grimly. Us. He pointed to the secondary control panel. I'll go in and adjust the physical components. You'll need to calibrate from here, following my lead. Kaida grabbed his arm. It's too dangerous. The radiation levels will kill me in about 15 minutes, he finished for her. So we'd better work fast. Before she could object further, he sealed himself in the protective suit and entered the chamber. Kaida watched through the viewport, heart pounding, as Ethan worked with the delicate quantum components. Start the calibration sequence, his voice came through the comm, and Kaida? If this doesn't work, it was worth meeting you. For the next 12 minutes, they worked in perfect synchronicity, human and Zinthery, engineer and lieutenant, man and woman, their minds perfectly aligned despite the physical barrier between them. When the drive finally stabilized, Kaida rushed to the chamber, helping Ethan out. His face was pale, sweat beading on his forehead. You did it, she whispered, supporting his weight. His amber eyes found hers. We did it. Then he collapsed in her arms. You should be in the medical bay, Kaida insisted, watching Ethan pace his quarters. The radiation exposure was within tolerable limits, he finished. Your doctor already cleared me. I'm fine, Lieutenant. Really? 2 days had passed since the quantum storm incident. 2 days of Kaida trying, and failing, to maintain her professional distance from the human who had risked his life to save her ship. That was reckless, she said, her antennae betraying her agitation. You could have died. Ethan finally stopped pacing and looked at her. Would that have bothered you? The directness of the question caught her off guard. Of course. You're a valuable crew member. That's not what I asked. He moved closer, until she could see the gold flecks in his amber eyes. Would it have bothered you, Kaida? The use of her first name sent a shiver through her body. That's not relevant. I think it is. He was close enough now that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. I think there's something happening between us that has nothing to do with quantum physics or ship protocols. Kaida took a step back, bumping against the wall. Engineer Reed. Ethan, he corrected softly. Ethan, she conceded. Whatever you think is happening, it's complicated. Humans and Xanthari are physiologically compatible, but what? His hand reached up, hesitating just shy of touching her face. Cultural differences? Fleet regulations? Or are you afraid of what you're feeling? Her breath caught. I don't know what I'm feeling. This isn't. I've never. Neither have I, he admitted. Not like this. When his fingers finally made contact with her cheek, Kaida couldn't suppress the gasp that escaped her lips. Human touch was warmer than Xanthari, more intense somehow. Your skin changes color when you're emotional, Ethan observed, watching the deeper purple flush spread across her cheeks. It's beautiful. This time, Kaida didn't pull away from the compliment. Humans are so expressive with words. My people, we communicate differently. Show me, he whispered. Hesitantly, she raised her hand to his face, her fingertips brushing his temple. Then she closed her eyes, concentrating. Among the Xanthari, this was an intimate gesture, allowing another to feel one's emotions through touch. Ethan inhaled sharply as the connection formed. That's incredible, he breathed, experiencing the cascade of her conflicted feelings, attraction, uncertainty, desire, fear. When she opened her eyes, his pupils were dilated, his breathing uneven. Now you understand, she said softly. I understand that I want more. His hands found her waist, drawing her closer. I want all of you, Kaida. Their first kiss was tentative, exploratory, her lips cooler than his pressure more insistent than she was accustomed to. But the differences only heightened the sensation, each new discovery a revelation. His hands traced the curves of her body through her uniform, eliciting sensations she'd never experienced with her own kind. Her antennae trembled as the kiss deepened, her back arching into his touch. These uniforms, he murmured against her mouth, are unnecessarily complicated. A laugh bubbled up from somewhere deep inside her, another first. Efficiency in design is a Xanthari principle. His fingers found the hidden fastening at her collar. I believe in efficiency too. The uniform loosened, exposing the deeper purple of her neck and shoulders. But I also believe in taking time to appreciate beauty. His lips traced the newly exposed skin, and Kaida felt herself surrendering to the gravitational pull between them, a force as undeniable as any law of physics. We shouldn't, she whispered, even as her fingers tangled in his curly hair. Probably not, he agreed, lifting her effortlessly onto the nearby desk. But sometimes the most important discoveries happen when we break the rules. As clothing fell away and skin met skin, Kaida realized she was charting unknown territory, a new frontier more exciting than any space she'd ever explored. The crew is talking, Commander Trell informed Kaida, his expression disapproving. As her second-in-command and a traditional Xanthari, he had made his opinions about humans, particularly Ethan, clear from the beginning. Let them talk, Kaida replied, reviewing the mission reports on her data pad. Engineer Reed's modifications to the quantum drive have increased our efficiency by 17%. The results speak for themselves. It's not his technical skills I'm concerned with. Trell's antennae were rigid with disapproval. Your association with him is inappropriate. The council would not approve of a Xanthari officer becoming involved with a human. Kaida set down the data pad, meeting his gaze directly. My personal life is not subject to council approval, Commander. It is when it affects the mission. Trell lowered his voice. We're approaching the Nexus anomaly tomorrow. We need your full attention, not divided loyalties. The Nexus anomaly, the whole reason for their mission. A spatial phenomenon that occurred once every 70 years, offering a glimpse into parallel dimensions. The scientific possibilities were endless and dangerous. My loyalty is to this ship and this mission, Kaida said firmly. Nothing has changed that. But as she left the bridge, she wondered if that was entirely true. In the 3 weeks since she and Ethan had first become intimate, something fundamental had shifted within her. Her once-ordered world now contained variables she couldn't control, emotions she couldn't quantify. She found Ethan in the observation lounge, staring out at the stars. The blue-green nebula that preceded the anomaly was already visible, its gases swirling in ethereal patterns. It's magnificent, he said without turning. Like nothing we have in Earth's vicinity. Kaida stood beside him, their shoulders touching. Tomorrow will be the first to collect comprehensive data on it. If your modifications to the sensors work as planned. They will. He took her hand, a gesture that still sent electricity through her body. But Trell doesn't think we'll make it, does he? She looked at him sharply. What do you mean? He's been running simulations in the auxiliary lab. Worst-case scenarios where the ship is torn apart by the gravimetric forces. Ethan turned to face her. He doesn't trust my calculations. Trell is traditional. He's uncomfortable with change. With me, you mean? Ethan's thumb traced circles on her palm. With us. Kaida sighed. There are those who believe Zinthari should remain separate from other species. That we lose something essential when we integrate. And what do you believe? His question was soft but urgent. She looked up at him, at this human who had somehow become essential to her. I believe I've found something I never knew was missing. His kiss was gentle, a contrast to their earlier passionate encounters. When he pulled back, his expression had grown serious. There's something I need to tell you about the anomaly. Something I discovered in the latest scans. Alarm flashed through her. What is it? The anomaly isn't just a window between dimensions. It's a door. He pulled up a holographic display from his wrist device. These energy signatures suggest matter can pass through, in both directions. Kaida studied the data, her scientific mind racing. That changes everything. If we can actually travel between dimensions. It also means something could come through to our side, Ethan finished. Something we're not prepared for. The implications were staggering. We should alert Galactic Command, request backup. By the time they arrive, the anomaly will have closed. We have to make the decision ourselves. His eyes held hers. Do we proceed with the mission, knowing the risks? Or do we retreat to a safe distance and merely observe? In that moment, Kaida realized this was why humans had been included in the Galactic Coalition despite their relative technological inferiority. They possessed a capacity for intuitive leaps that the logical Zinthari often lacked. What would you do? She asked, genuinely wanting his perspective. Ethan smiled. I'd go forward. But carefully, with additional safety protocols. His hand squeezed hers. And I'd make sure I had someone I trusted completely by my side. She felt the weight of command, of responsibility, but also the exhilaration of discovery. And something else, the knowledge that whatever awaited them at the anomaly, she would face it with this remarkable human beside her. Then that's what we'll do, she decided. Together. That night, in the privacy of her quarters, their lovemaking had a new intensity, as if both were aware of the uncertainty that awaited them. Each touch, each kiss felt like a promise, a defiance against the unknown dangers ahead. As they lay entwined afterward, Ethan's fingers tracing the curve of her hip, he whispered, "I never thought I'd find something more beautiful than the stars." And for the first time in her life, Lieutenant Kaida Knox, pride of the Xinthari fleet, blushed deeply at a compliment and didn't try to hide it. The celestial Voyager hung at the edge of the Nexus anomaly, its modified sensors collecting data at unprecedented rates. On the bridge, tension was palpable as the swirling vortex of energy grew larger in the view screen. "Gravimetric shielding holding at 87%, Trell reported, his tone clipped. "Quantum field stabilizers operating within parameters," Ethan added from the engineering station. His presence on the bridge had been Kaida's decision, one that Trell had opposed, then reluctantly accepted. "Begin the probe launch sequence," Kaida ordered, her posture perfect despite the sleepless night. The weight of command had never felt heavier, yet paradoxically, she'd never been more certain of her path. The ship shuddered as the specialized probe shot toward the anomaly's center. For 30 seconds, telemetry streamed back, incredible readings of alternate dimensional states, quantum variances, possibilities beyond imagining. Then the probe vanished. "Signal lost," Trell announced. "Expected," Ethan replied. The difference in quantum states would disrupt. A blinding flash from the anomaly interrupted him. The ship rocked violently, throwing crew members against consoles. "Something's coming through," the sensor officer shouted. Kaida gripped her command chair. "Defensive positions. Prepare." But instead of an attack, a bubble of energy emerged from the anomaly. Within it, impossibly, was another ship, nearly identical to the celestial Voyager. "It's us," Ethan whispered in awe. "From another dimension." Communications crackled to life, and a face appeared on screen, a face identical to Kaida's, except for one difference. This Kaida's skin was blue, not purple. "Celestial Voyager, this is Captain Kaida Knox. We've been searching for a dimensional breach point for months. Thank the stars we found you." The bridge crew stared in stunned silence. Kaida found her voice first. "This is Lieutenant Kaida Knox. Why have you been searching for us specifically?" The blue-skinned Kaida's expression grew grave. "Because in our dimension, the Arcturian Collective has launched a full-scale invasion of Coalition space. We need your help, your dimension may be next." What followed was the most extraordinary first contact meeting in Coalition history, two versions of the same crew, comparing notes on their divergent realities. The differences were fascinating. In the alternate dimension, Xinthari had evolved with blue skin instead of purple, humans had developed faster-than-light travel independently, and most strikingly, the alternate Kaida had never met her version of Ethan Reed. "In our timeline, the Coalition never implemented the cross-species engineering initiative," Alt-Kaida explained in the conference room. "Our dimensions diverged approximately 3 Earth years ago." Ethan and Kaida exchanged glances, the implication clear: in another reality, they had never found each other. "The Arcturians discovered dimensional travel 6 months ago," Altrell continued. "They've been using it to gather intelligence on Coalition defenses across multiple realities. Which explains the unusual energy signatures we detected at the edge of our territory," Kaida realized. "Not Arcturian scouts, Arcturian dimensional travelers. We have defensive technologies that might help you," Ethan offered. "And with our combined knowledge of the anomaly, we could establish a more permanent connection between our dimensions." As the meeting continued, Kaida noticed her alternate self watching her interactions with Ethan with undisguised curiosity. Later, when the others had left to begin the technological exchange, Alt-Kaida approached them. "You two are, together? A Xinthari and a human?" Kaida straightened. "Yes. Is that a problem in your dimension as well?" Alt-Kaida smiled, a softer expression than Kaida had ever seen on her own face. "Not a problem. Just unexpected. In my world, I never considered. I've always been so focused on duty." "So was I," Kaida admitted, feeling Ethan's reassuring presence beside her. "Until I learned that duty and personal happiness aren't mutually exclusive." Perhaps there are more things our dimensions could learn from each other than just defense strategies, Al-Qaeda mused. When the alternate ship departed 3 days later, loaded with technical specifications, cultural exchanges, and a permanent quantum communicator linking their dimensions, Qaeda stood in the observation lounge with Ethan, watching the anomaly begin its 70-year closure cycle. "Do you think they'll be all right?" Ethan asked, his arm around her waist. "I think they have a fighting chance now." She leaned into his embrace. "And perhaps more than that. I gave the other me some additional, personal advice." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Let me guess, to look up her dimensions." Ethan read. Qaeda smiled, her antennae quivering with amusement. "Actually, I suggested she rethink her definition of duty. The rest is up to her." As the last swirls of the anomaly faded, Ethan turned her to face him. "Speaking of duty, I've been offered a permanent position with the Coalition Science Division, working on dimension-crossing technology." "That would mean leaving the Celestial Voyager," Qaeda said, her heart suddenly heavy. "Yes." His hands found hers. "Unless the ship's commanding officer were to request a permanent Galactic Coalition science liaison aboard." She blinked. "Commanding officer?" Ethan grinned. "Admiral Voss was impressed with your handling of the dimensional contact. Your promotion comes through next week. Congratulations, Captain Knox." Joy surged through her, followed quickly by understanding. "You already knew. You arranged this." "I may have pointed out the benefits of having a Zinthari captain with experience in cross-dimensional diplomacy." His expression grew serious. "But I would never presume to make this decision for you. If you want me to take the science division position." Qaeda silenced him with a kiss. When they finally separated, she said, "Request approved, Science Liaison Reed. It seems we still have much to discover, together. Including what happens when a human and a Zinthari build a life together." His eyes held both question and hope. She smiled, feeling the now familiar warmth of a blush spreading across her cheeks. "Especially that. After all, the most important explorations are the ones that challenge our preconceptions about what's possible." As they stood together at the threshold of their shared future, Qaeda reflected on how far she had come, from the rigid lieutenant who had greeted Ethan with suspicion to the woman who had found love across the stars. She had discovered that the universe's greatest wonders weren't always found in quantum anomalies or dimensional breaches, but sometimes in the most unexpected connections between two beings from different worlds. And she never wanted to stop exploring. The end.